Welcome to the weekend. We'll have a rerun today, and I'll add a quote. So grab your favorite cuppa, settle in, and let's see what we have. Welcome back. Today we'll take a look at a blend of the sublime and the strange. So grab your favorite cuppa, sit back, and let's have a look. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for May 17th. May 17th is the 137th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 138th in leap years, with 228 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is ethereal. Ethereal is an adjective that means of or relating to the regions beyond earth, celestial, heavenly, unworldly, spiritual. Example uses could include the discussion of the ethereal beauty of the northern lights, or an ethereal mist in the early morning forest, or an ethereal piece of music that lifts the spirits of listeners. Ethereal can also mean lacking material substance, intangible, marked by unusual delicacy or refinement, as in the dancers moved with ethereal grace, or it looked like a delicate sprite flitting between the flowers, wings a blur of motion, moving with ethereal agility. Ethereal comes to us from Greek. First known use of the word ethereal is in the 1500s. Ethereal. And with that, a man named Alessandro di Mariano di Vanni Filippi was an artist you might have heard of if you're interested in classical art or art history, but he is better known by the name of Sandro Botticelli. He's known for his mythological and religious subjects such as the birth of Venus, Primavera, the mystical Nativity, and the Madonna of the Magnificat. He did a lot of works in a round format known as tondo, and we're talking about large round pieces like feet across. Beautiful work Botticelli did. I'm glad he lived, and I'm glad he painted. Sandro Botticelli died on May 17, 1510. He will have been about 64 or 65 years old at the time of his passing. It was on May 17, 1702, that the New York Stock Exchange was formed under probably one of the most important financial documents in U.S. history, the Buttonwood Agreement. Now, why was it called the Buttonwood Agreement? Was its principal author named somebody or other Buttonwood? Not quite. It is that 24 stockbrokers signed this agreement outside 68 Wall Street in New York City under a buttonwood tree. Never heard of a buttonwood tree? Don't worry. They're not extinct or anything. Buttonwood is just another name for a sycamore tree. Since that's the day the agreement was signed, May 17th is celebrated as the founding date of the New York Stock Exchange. How about that? Now, when I first heard about this next story, it was presented as a witch trial. Except that it was some 200 years, plus or minus, after the Salem witch trials, which were in the 1600s. So what the heck? It seems that a man named Daniel Spofford had become interested in the teachings of a woman known as Mary Baker Eddy. Now, I don't know that it matters, but she had a different last name when he first met her, and then she got married and acquired the name that we know her by, Mary Baker Eddy. She was the founder of the Christian Science faith, and he took her course and graduated sufficiently to teach the material. Mrs. Eddy wrote a book called Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, and the publication of that book was financed by some of her students, while Spofford acted as the publisher. The first publication of this book was in 1875, and as they were getting ready to publish the second edition 2 years later in 1877, Spofford and Eddy somehow came to some sort of disagreement over the terms of publication. By and by, Spofford was expelled from the Association of Christian Sciences for reasons of immorality. Mrs. Eddy attempted to sue him over a financial matter, but she lost that suit. and the relationship between Spofford and Eddie continued to deteriorate as they parted ways. More or less concurrently along this time, a woman named Lucretia Brown enters the picture. She had experienced a spinal injury as a child, which left her disabled. After following the tenets of Christian Science, she felt that she'd been healed. Unfortunately, she suffered a relapse in 1877 and again in 1878, which is when the conflict between Mary Baker Eddy and Daniel Spofford was heating up. Amid all that excitement, Ms. Brown got it in her mind that Daniel Spofford was somehow responsible for her relapse, claiming that he was practicing mesmerism, that he had some ability to interfere with the minds and bodies of others, and that he was doing this to her. The matter was brought to court and happened to be heard in Salem. Certain sensationalists likened this alleged power and ability of mesmerism to witchcraft and presented the court proceedings in the news as a Salem witchcraft trial. Fortunately, the judge was well versed in actual law, and on May 17, 1878, he dismissed this case on the basis that the claim was vague, the complaint was framed without knowledge of the law of equity, and furthermore, the court ruled that if Ms. Brown's claims were true, it was unclear how the alleged mental control could be stopped, even if Spofford were imprisoned. One observer described this trial as one of the most bizarre courtroom sessions ever held in the United States. Televised hearings of the Watergate scandal began in the United States Senate on May 17, 1973. Today's song is I Never Thought I'd Live to Be 100 by the Moody Blues. It's very short, just a little over a minute, but I found it quite moving. This one is from the Moody Blues' fifth album, To Our Children's Children's Children, released in November of 1969. Some of the band members said of the making of this album that man had just gone to the moon. This was on their minds, and it was a big inspiration as they put this concept album together, asking themselves questions like, if we were the people on the rocket ship going out to space, going to the moon, going to Mars, what would we think? What would be our thoughts? There's only one song released as a single from this album, and it wasn't I Never Thought I'd Live to Be 100, so the song would have been played as an album cut or in those unusual instances where a station might play a whole album in the middle of the night. I just know that I loved I Never Thought I'd Live to Be 100 the first time I heard it. And I hope you will too. I've placed a link in the description to the whole album and to the song by itself. I Never Thought I'd Live to Be 100 by the Moody Blues. Check it out. How about that? From the soft brush strokes of Botticelli to the firm signatures beneath the buttonwood tree and the curious courtroom case that was hawked as a modern-day witch trial, and the dreamy sounds of the Moody Blues. I'd say these events can remind us how much of life feels suspended between reality and the intangible. What a day! Today's quote, I think, is quite suited to tying together the quiet mystery of mesmerism, Botticelli's tranquil art, and the introspective tone of the Moody Blues. This one is by British writer, literary scholar, theologian, and author of the Chronicles of Narnia and other books, C.S. Lewis, who said, "We live, in fact, in a world starved for solitude, silence, and private, and therefore starved for meditation and true friendship." C.S. Lewis. Deep stuff there. Alrighty, y'all take care. Be good to each other. I'll see you next time. Get your microphone. You and that microphone, I swear to Pete. All right. From the Stroft Bush Strokes. All right. Oh, dadgummit, I did it again. All right.